What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Shredlord!
The Tommie.
It's very nice contrast between these two.
That's what I was going for.
Well, we got another album review for you, and probably a pretty anticipated one as far as death metal is concerned. The new Nile album came out. Vile Nilotic Rites. This came out November 8th on Nuclear Blast Records. This is the band's 9th full length. They've been around since 1993 and probably one of the more recognizable names in death metal, especially due to their flair for all things Egyptology. This is also the first album since 1997 without Dallas Toler-Wade on guitars and doing co-vocal duties with Carl Sanders. This is the first album with Brian Kingsland, who makes his debut on this one. He's been with the band since 2017, so I was a little worried about the transition with a new member, especially since Dallas was a huge part of the band for so long.
Yeah. Big part of the writing process.
Big part. I mean,
He did a great job.
did a great job. Like I was really surprised by this album. Not that I thought it was going to be disappointing, because Nile really doesn't have bad albums, but right away I was pretty damn impressed. Opening track, Long Shadows of Dread, pretty much gives you a nasty punch to the face. Has a nice, subtle, small little interlude of an intro.
Very tiny.
And then boom.
Then we're there.
The song just explodes.
Balls
deep. Intense AF.
My God, their riffing is so signature. Like, it's one of those bands you know you're listening to Nile as soon as the guitars come in, and of course the insane drum work of George Calas. Yes. Wow, once again.
This was definitely a really good first song for the album. It really set the tone for the whole thing.
And right away, another thing that I always notice about Nile is how clean everything is on the guitars. Yeah. Even incredibly fast, like the riffs, you can just hear everything. It's very articulate, and that's what I always appreciate about you.
The picking is just insane. Like, it is a violent spasm, pretty much. But it's, like I said, again, just intricate, clean. The lead work is really cool. And now with a new guitarist in there, you get a new guy playing leads, and he has definitely his own flair. He's a little more melodic.
Yeah, which I think adds to the contrast, because Carl Sanders is melodic, but he has a really unique, I guess I'd say a little bit quirky style, because some of that Middle Eastern flair has some semitones and stuff like that most modern Western music doesn't have. So this guy's a little bit more, I think, on the more traditional part of the spectrum, but it was a cool contrast to mix with Carl Sanders.
One that definitely stood out to me was the title track. Probably the first one that really just instantly grabbed me. Not that the first two were bad at all. They were straightforward, awesome Nile. But this one grabbed me because it was a bit groovier, and they had some just giant riffs, and it kind of gave the song room to breathe, and you start getting all these more theatrical elements starting to come in. You know, choirs,
the bells.
Every time, he was like, well, it didn't sound evil enough. Add a giant bell. You know what?
Done.
Add a giant bell.
It's really hard to get over how insane this drummer is.
Dude,
like, really.
George is the man.
Dude, every fill seems like just a blur. But I'm pretty sure if you slowed it down, you'd hear just every intricate little tap that was just perfectly placed. But he is insanely fast. It's amazing just to listen to him work. I've watched videos of him work just to try to pick up what he does, and I'd have to slow them down. I'm not a drummer by any sense, and yeah, he's just a blur of insanity.
But he will beat on his meat every once in a while.
Now, the first big epic track on here, and there are huge epic tracks, but the first one that really dialed up the epicness was Seven Horns of War.
Yeah.
This is the longest song on the album. I think it's like 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Holy shit.
This was one of my favorite tracks on this entire album.
I loved it right away. I liked how it balanced between this sort of slow epic part, and then all of a sudden it goes in this flurry of technical play.
So brutal.
It was, insanely brutal. But it was, again, like, still very melodic, still very intricate, and it didn't feel like a mess. It didn't feel sloppy at all. It was just, again, precise.
Definitely not sloppy. I said it was definitely chaotic, intense, brutal, fast, epic, cool, unique riffs.
And then towards the end, it kind of slows itself down, almost to the point where I was like, is this a new track? But they kind of brought the dynamics all the way down, and then had these, like, these horn section come in and shit, these war horns and trumpets and stuff, and I was like,
epic.
Fuck, that's cool.
It was almost like a symphonic break. That was really cool, and this is where I think you really get to hear the first cleans. There are some cleans on this album, which I was really surprised by, and they're really good. They're almost kind of like Attila from Mayhem.
Yeah.
You know, very operatic, but still very strange and dark, and it's just over the top, and it's awesome.
It worked.
The pre-outro to this song sounded like just reminded me of a witch doctor about to rip somebody's heart out.
Kalima.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That Which Is Forbidden was another one that stood out right away from the intro because that one just instantly reminded me of all things Chuck Schuldiner and Death. I loved that Middle Eastern, but it had that kind of intricate crawling melody that you definitely associate with Chuck and his brilliant fucking writing.
Yeah, it was definitely reminiscent of some old school Death, but they did it in their own way. They gave it their own little flair, but that's the first thing that came to all of our minds. We kind of all looked at each other and said,
Death.
Charles?
I think at one point I said that this song shifts around like the dunes of the Sahara. Seemed appropriate.
Ooh.
I know. Metaphors.
Deep.
Now, where the album really took a giant epic turn, there were some more fast, brutal songs in between, and I thought they were really good, but once we hit this interesting...
8 through 10.
Yeah.
8 through 10 was so fucking solid.
Yeah, the little interesting interlude.
Yeah.
What was that one? Thus saith the parasites of the mind.
Yeah.
It is a sitar intro, this cool sitar intro build up. I told the guys when we were listening to it, it was kind of like Aladdin on acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it was like makes me want to sit in a tent in the desert smoking opium.
Dude, it was really well. It definitely captured the feel of all things Egypt, desert, whatever. Reminded me of like I think I instantly thought of like Raiders of the Lost Ark or some shit like that. Like, dude, like,
yes.
All right, that's really cool. And I generally bitch about interludes, but this one really fit the feel of the album. Then we get into Where Is the Wrathful Sky, one of my favorite tracks
Agreed.
on here.
Couldn't agree
Incredible.
more.
Holy shit, what a killer track.
It's a roller coaster of a song for sure.
Excellent drum breakdowns. There's acoustic guitars. They ran the gamut as far as variety goes in this song.
It's a nice little the acoustic break with the Middle Eastern percussion in the middle. Wow, like talk about songwriting dynamics. This song has so much going for it. One of the best songs on here. I thought this is a clear standout track. Then The Imperishable Stars Are Sickened,
Which should, in our opinion, should have been the closing track because it is easily one of the strongest
Yes.
tracks.
Oh, hands
it should have
down.
been the closer. Like, and not that the last track
was bad or
we
anything.
were cursed
But maybe it should have went right before because
and you might have had an even more perfect album. This is still an excellent album, but this song should have been the closer because it is epic in every sense of the word once again. And again, this back half, they just dialed up all the epic. It was truly amazing. And again, the clean vocals make an appearance on here to great effect, and I like how they're just used sparingly, like kind of pockmarked on the album.
yeah, it's part of the palette, so to speak, but not the entire thing.
It was just absolutely insane. It was more of a straightforward mid-tempo chug-a-thon, but with all the cool thematics. Like there was even the hoo ha in between hits and shit. It was like, dude,
That's cool.
yeah, this is like a giant army rolling across the desert or some shit. Like it was epic, fucking sweet. So overall, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I fucking like this album. I was really unsure about it with a big membership change, but once again they impressed the shit out of me. And I think just if they had switched around some tracks there, namely the last 2, might have even gotten the 5. I think maybe some of the vocal cadences could have been faster, but all in all, this is a killer Nile album, and if you love Nile, there's a good chance you're gonna love this one.
I also gave this album a 4 out of 5. Thought it was really good. I would have given it a 4.5 had they even just switched the last 2 tracks.
Yeah.
Really, that last track felt a little tacked on just because of the placement. It was incredible. The drums were some of the craziest drums I've ever heard.
I'm going to go ahead and complete this trend of 4 out of 5. I think this is one of the strongest or stronger albums in Nile's catalog, even upon first listen. I really enjoyed the shit out of it. I enjoy the older stuff as well, but I think we'll look back on this album and see this as one of the really great Nile albums for sure.
So, if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe because we do shit like this all the time. Tell us what you think about the album too. Love to hear from you. Take it easy.